Let me set the scene for you. It is June 2026. The World Cup is actually here, on American soil. Across 16 cities, stretching from coast to coast, the biggest sporting event on the planet has finally landed in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. There are flags everywhere. There are jerseys on every corner. Bars are packed for morning kickoffs. Schools are tracking brackets. This is the World Cup, the thing that is supposed to unite everyone, the thing that transcends politics and money and language. At least, that is how FIFA tells the story. But right now, as the tournament officially opens its doors, another story is running alongside it. A story about a broken ticketing system, about canceled tickets and stadium rows that sit empty, about families who did everything right and still got locked out. And it starts, as so many of these stories do, with one ordinary guy who just wanted to take his daughter to a soccer match. His name is Paul Dufresne. He is a dad from the Bay Area. He paid $720 for 2 tickets back in April, one for himself, one for his daughter Taylor. He bought through FIFA's own official website. He paid in full. He booked the hotel. He planned the entire trip around one specific match, Qatar against Switzerland, a once-in-a-lifetime game on home turf, during the first World Cup on American soil in over 30 years. And Taylor is not just a casual fan. She grew up playing soccer. Her dad was her coach on the youth sideline. This game was personal in a way that you cannot put a number on. And then, days before kickoff, FIFA sent him an email, not a thank you, not a reminder, not a travel tip, a cancellation notice, and an accusation. According to FIFA, his tickets had been flagged and removed because of, and these are FIFA's exact words, fraudulent activity. The tickets were gone, and by the time that email arrived, FIFA had already resold them to somebody else. When Dufresne tried to make sense of what happened, he got nowhere fast. At first he thought the email itself was a scam. That is a completely reasonable assumption when a major event is in town. Phishing attempts, spoofed emails, ticket fraud, all of it spikes around something like the World Cup. But when he called his bank, the bank found zero evidence of fraud on his end. Nothing flagged, nothing suspicious. His purchase was clean. He went back to FIFA directly. FIFA confirmed the cancellation was real. They escalated his case, and then they gave him absolutely no explanation, none, for why a legitimate ticket purchase had been torn up without warning. The only thing FIFA pointed to was the fine print in its terms of sale, which says, in language that sounds official but means almost nothing, that all tickets are subject to cancellation in cases of, quote, suspected or confirmed fraudulent activity. Suspected. Not proven, not confirmed by an investigation, suspected. Which means FIFA does not actually have to show anyone any evidence. They can cancel your tickets on suspicion alone. And in that same email to Dufresne, FIFA mentioned, almost in passing, that 461 tickets had been flagged and canceled as fraudulent in the same sweep. 461. He is not the only one. Other fans across the country have posted about identical situations online. Bought through official channels, paid in full, no issues with their banks, and then suddenly hit with a cancellation and an accusation right before the match they had been planning for months. For Taylor, this is not a logistics problem. It is not an inconvenience you solve by booking different seats. This is personal. She was going to sit in a stadium and watch a World Cup match with her dad, the same man who stood on the sideline and coached her through childhood. That experience does not get rescheduled. As Paul Dufresne put it himself, the refund is the small part. The money is not the point. The loss is the experience. It is the once-in-a-lifetime moment. And the World Cup is not coming back to the Bay Area in his lifetime. FIFA took that away with a form email and the word fraud. Now, here is where the story turns from frustrating to infuriating. Because to understand how truly absurd it is for FIFA to be canceling 461 tickets as fraudulent, you have to look at the other side of the equation. You have to look at how many tickets FIFA itself cannot sell. This tournament is drowning in empty seats, not a handful. Not a few unsold spots up in the nosebleeds, thousands. The tournament's opening match in Guadalajara, South Korea against the Czech Republic, was officially announced at an attendance of 44,985 spectators, just under the stadium's capacity. But anyone watching on television, and plenty of people who were actually there, saw something that looked nowhere close to full. Entire sections sat visibly empty throughout the match. FIFA responded to the obvious visual by telling reporters, and this is a real statement they actually released, that official attendance figures reflect the number of tickets scanned and spectators present within the stadium footprint, rather than visual assessments of seating occupancy at any given moment. Which is another way of saying the empty seats you saw with your own eyes do not count. And Guadalajara is far from the only venue with this problem. Out in Santa Clara, at Levi's Stadium, which FIFA insists on calling the San Francisco Bay Area Stadium for tournament branding purposes, entire rows were sitting unsold the day before matches were scheduled to kick off there. When a local outlet went into FIFA's own ticketing portal and manually counted available seats for a single round of 32 match, the kind of match that could feature Team USA, they found nearly 400 tickets still available. Every single one of them was in the front 3 rows of seating, closest to the field, arguably the best seats in the house. In one section alone, all 60 seats in the first 3 rows were listed as available. The price for those seats? Just under $2,000 each. At the same time, on FIFA's official resale marketplace, there were more than 26,000 tickets listed for sale in a single afternoon. 26,000. For one match alone, Jordan against Algeria, there were nearly 7,000 tickets available. That is not a scarcity problem. That is not high demand meeting limited supply. That is a fire sale with nobody showing up to buy. And then there is the allegation that has been floating around in sports business reporting for weeks, that FIFA has been quietly offloading its unsold inventory onto unofficial third-party resale platforms at prices far below what it charges on its own official site. The Financial Times reported earlier this month that approximately 176,000 tickets for World Cup group stage matches were listed on FIFA's official resale platforms as of June 9th, roughly 1 week into the tournament. Multiple resale platforms, including SeatGeek and StubHub, have publicly denied any formal partnership with FIFA, but analysts have pointed out that large blocks of tickets appearing at dramatically reduced prices are consistent with an organization trying to move unsold inventory without admitting what the real market clearing price is. One analysis quoted in press coverage put it plainly: FIFA keeps official prices high, avoids openly admitting the market cannot support those prices, and moves unsold inventory through third-party resale platforms instead. Tickets that were listed at $700 on FIFA's official website were reportedly appearing on resale sites for as low as $200. Some tickets had reportedly dropped below $100 on platforms like eBay. So sit with that contradiction for a moment, because it is the whole story in one picture. FIFA has 176,000 tickets it cannot sell. It has stadiums with rows of empty seats. It has its own resale marketplace bursting with listings at every price point. And the fans it chose to cancel, the ones it accused of fraud, the ones it locked out and then immediately resold their seats to someone else, were the people who had already paid, the ones who bought early, the ones who paid full price through official channels, the ones who did everything right, a father and his daughter. $720 paid in good faith. A trip planned for months. And FIFA's solution was to cancel the family that was already coming in a stadium that cannot even fill itself. Now, none of this happened in a vacuum. The entire FIFA ticketing structure for this World Cup was engineered to be confusing from day one. Prices were not fixed. They used a dynamic pricing model, the kind airlines use, where costs float upward with demand. That alone would be controversial. But FIFA layered several more problems on top of it. Tickets were not sold as specific assigned seats with clear row and section information. They were sold as broad categories: Category 1, Category 2, Category 3, without guaranteeing exactly where in the stadium those seats would be located. Fans paid for a category and trusted FIFA to assign the actual seat. Then, months later, in April of 2026, FIFA quietly introduced new subcategories. Suddenly, there were premium front-row seat options available, at significantly higher prices. And here is the twist. The fans who had already purchased tickets in the fall of 2025 were never told that their earlier purchases would not qualify for those front rows. They had paid in good faith for something that they believed was a good seat. What they actually got was a seat that FIFA then made deliberately less valuable by creating a more expensive tier above it. People paid for less than they thought they were getting. No one told them, and the prices, according to FIFA's own data, had already risen by an average of 34% across approximately 90 of the tournament's 104 matches between the initial sales phase and the later phases. 34% on average for the same seats, bought through the same official website. The backlash has not stayed online. It has reached law enforcement. Multiple state attorneys general have opened formal investigations into whether FIFA violated consumer protection laws in their states. New York Attorney General Letitia James and New Jersey Attorney General Jennifer Davenport were among the first to act, issuing subpoenas to FIFA in May of 2026, demanding internal documentation about how the organization arrived at its ticket prices and how it communicated seat locations to buyers. New Jersey is hosting 8 World Cup matches, including the final at MetLife Stadium, temporarily rebranded as New York, New Jersey Stadium for the event, on July 19th. The AGs want to know whether fans were deliberately misled. California Attorney General Rob Bonta joined the investigation separately, focusing on the Bay Area and Los Angeles matches. Texas added its own probe after buyers from Dallas and Houston reported identical issues with seat location misrepresentation. As of this writing, 4 state attorneys general are actively investigating FIFA's ticketing operation. That is New York, New Jersey, California, and Texas, 4 of the largest consumer markets in the country, each with independent legal authority to pursue civil and potentially criminal violations of consumer protection statutes. And this is where it helps to remember the historical context, because FIFA has been here before. 10 years ago, in May of 2015, the U.S. Department of Justice unsealed one of the most remarkable indictments in sports history, charging dozens of FIFA officials and their associates with racketeering, wire fraud, and money laundering. The charges described a decades-long pattern of corruption, officials accepting bribes in exchange for World Cup hosting rights, television deals, marketing contracts. The figures involved were staggering, hundreds of millions of dollars. The arrests were made during the FIFA Congress in Zurich. The images of senior soccer officials being walked out of a Swiss hotel by law enforcement went around the world. Multiple guilty pleas followed, multiple convictions. Fast forward to 2026, and some commentators and legal observers are asking whether the current ticketing situation represents a different flavor of the same institutional dysfunction. Not bribery this time, not a backroom handshake deal, but a pricing and distribution system that, in the words of one Attorney General's press release, operates like a gauntlet of confusion, fake scarcity, and impossibly high prices, designed in ways that appear to benefit FIFA financially, while systematically misleading the consumers on the other end of the transaction. FIFA has not been charged with anything in connection with the current ticketing controversy. That needs to be said clearly. These are civil investigations at the state level, not federal criminal charges. But the pattern of institutional behavior, the opacity, the fine print defenses, the refusal to explain decisions to individual buyers, the silence in response to press inquiries, is something a lot of observers find familiar. And for the families who actually lost their tickets, the legal distinctions between civil and criminal investigations do not mean much. Back to Paul Dufresne for a moment, because his case illustrates something important about what ordinary consumers can actually do in this situation. Consumer protection attorneys and credit card experts who have commented publicly on cases like his say that the Fair Credit Billing Act gives him a legitimate shot at a full refund. The act allows cardholders to dispute charges for services not delivered as described, and a ticket purchase that ends in a cancellation on FIFA's end with no delivered service and no explained justification is a textbook billing dispute. Dufresne reportedly planned to pursue exactly that avenue. FIFA, for the record, has not responded to press requests for comment about his case or the broader pattern of canceled tickets. Meanwhile, the tournament itself continues. And on June 13th, today, the United States played its opening match of the 2026 World Cup against Paraguay at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. The game had been the most anticipated single match of the opening round for American fans, and yet, as of just days before kickoff, there were still approximately 4,000 tickets listed on FIFA's official resale portal for that game. Multiple outlets reported that, as of the Monday before the match, there were still around 132 regular tickets available through FIFA's own primary sales platform, not resale, primary, for the United States' first World Cup home opener on June 13th, with the eyes of the country watching. Fans who attended the match and reporters on the ground described paying between $1,200 and $1,350 per seat. Multiple attendees told Al Jazeera journalists outside the stadium that FIFA should be ashamed of themselves. The sentiment is not a fringe position. It is becoming the dominant public narrative around an event that was supposed to be a celebration. The same day, Brazil and Morocco kicked off at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, one of the tournament's marquee fixtures in one of the most expensive and contentious venue markets of the entire World Cup. Ticket prices for that match reached into the thousands, and the investigation by the New York and New Jersey attorneys general was watching. Canada's opening match against Bosnia and Herzegovina at BMO Field in Toronto was reportedly close to sold out, with a few empty patches visible near the field and in a corner section of temporary seating. That game went well from an atmosphere standpoint. But Canada's situation is somewhat different from the U.S. matches, because local fans have been able to attend at relatively lower price points compared to the American venues. In Boston, at Gillette Stadium, the picture is mixed. As of June 12th, 6 of the Boston area matches still had tickets available. One match, Haiti against Scotland on Saturday, had sold out. Others had limited availability through FIFA's own site, with prices starting at $400 for the cheapest available tickets. On the official resale platform, a ticket to a Boston quarterfinal on July 9th was listed at $345,000. That is not a typo. $345,000 for one ticket. Whether that represents a serious listing or a data anomaly is unclear, but it has already become part of the broader public conversation about how fundamentally broken FIFA's pricing infrastructure appears to be. The honest read on all of this is not complicated. What FIFA has built is not a ticketing system designed to get fans into stadiums. It is a revenue extraction machine designed to maximize the price of every available seat without any coherent strategy for what happens when the market refuses to pay those prices. When demand fails to meet the projected price points, the inventory does not get adjusted downward in a transparent way. Instead, unsold seats get quietly routed to secondary markets through indirect channels. And when that does not work either, you end up with empty rows and a statement from FIFA explaining that the cameras are misleading you. And when legitimate buyers get caught in the algorithmic crossfire, when their purchases get flagged by whatever automated system FIFA is using to manage its inventory, they get canceled. They get called frauds. They get a form email with zero explanation. And FIFA moves on because FIFA has never been particularly concerned with the individual fan on the other end of the transaction. The World Cup has always been, at the organizational level, a financial and political event. The sport is the packaging. The fans are the revenue source. 461 canceled tickets. 176,000 seats sitting unsold on official resale portals. Prices that rose 34% on average after people had already committed their money. 4 state attorneys, general issuing subpoenas, fans outside stadiums telling reporters that FIFA should be ashamed. And a father and his daughter in the Bay Area who cannot go to the match they planned for months, while the stadium they were supposed to sit in cannot find enough paying customers to fill the rows around the seats FIFA took from them. That is the state of the FIFA World Cup 2026 ticketing operation as of June 13th, and FIFA has not commented.